Please confirm to me. All of you read my voice on screen. Those are attending in online. Guys, please confirm to me. All of you read my voice on screen. Those are attending in online, guys. Am I audible? Guys, please confirm to me. All of you read my voice on screen. Those are attending in online. Am I audible, guys? Please confirm to me. All of you read my voice on screen. Those are attending in online. Please respond to me, guys. All of you read my voice on screen. Those are attending in online. Am I audible, guys? Everybody, please respond to me. All of you read my voice on screen. Those are attending in online. Am I audible? Nagendra. Nagendra. Correct. Right. Good evening, guys. Right. In the last session, just given some details about the Java history. So before that, I'd like to give some details about the content here. Yesterday, just I started introduction part. Inside this introduction part, how many topics are available there? 5 topics are available in the introduction part. Java history, differences between Java and others in the sense C and C++ only. Java features, Java naming conventions, and Java programming format. These are all the topics what we are having inside the introduction part. Okay. Right. The next one is Java history. Observe carefully. So few points, that highlighted points I want to discuss with you, part of the Java history. In the last class, what we completed there, if you observe this, there I'm giving some highlighted content. So in 1991, Sun Microsystems had a requirement to prepare a new programming language in order to prepare softwares for the simple electronic consumer devices. What are the simple electronic consumer devices there? Cable TV switch boxes and maybe remote controllers and so on. Understand it clearly. For that particular requirement, Sun Microsystems gathered nearly 30 members team led by James Gosling and Patrick Norton and started a project named as what there? Green. They started Green project. Part of the Green project, they want to prepare a new programming language. For that, they gathered nearly 30 members team led by James Gosling and Patrick Norton. Next one is, they want to have some plan about this new programming language. What features they want to include in this new programming language? They want to have that plan. As part of it, they found nearly 3 factors inside their new programming language. What 3 features they want to include in their new programming language? First one is simple programming language, tight coded programming language, architectural neutral programming language. Simple programming language, in the sense, what they want to include in their simple programming language, the point is what? Less execution time, less memory, less power consumption. Less execution represents what there, yields what there, less execution time represents what there, more performance, and less memory represents what there, less cost of the end product, and less power consumption, in the sense less energy consumption, means that less maintenance cost here. All the points, these are the various points here they have included inside the simple. After that, tight coded programming language, in the sense they want to prepare a new programming language which must take less number of instructions to prepare a particular task or to perform a particular task. If the programming language takes less number of instructions, then that programming language is what they're tight coded. If the programming language takes a more number of instructions, then that programming language what they loose coded. Understand it now. That Sun Microsystems wants to prepare a tight-coded programming language only, not like what their loose-coded programming language. Example I've given there. If we take C programming language to perform the stack operations, push, pop, peek, nearly 60 lines of code is going to be taken. But at the same time, if we take Java programming language, insert the Java programming language with Java to perform the stack operations, how many lines of code here we are going to take? No, 4 lines of code here we are going to take. Now, which programming language is a tight coded? Which programming language is loose coded? Come on, guys. Which programming language is tight coded? Which programming language is loose coded? Java is what they're tight coded and C is what they're loose coded programming language. But Sun Microsystems wants to prepare a tight coded programming language. Architectural neutral. If any programming language is dependent on a particular hardware system, then that programming language is called what their hardware dependent programming language. Then C programming language is the best example for it. Understand it now. If any programming language is independent of the hardware system, then that programming language is what their hardware independent or architectural neutral programming language. Sun Microsystems wants to prepare a new programming language. It should not bound with any particular hardware system. It must be available to every hardware system. If it is available to every hardware system, automatically its utilization will be more. Its requirement will be more. Its demand will be more. Because of that reason, Sun Microsystems wants to prepare a new programming language. It should not bound with any particular hardware system. It must be available to every hardware component. Right, so these are the features that Sun Microsystems wants to include. Finally, Sun Microsystems started to prepare a new programming language that was completed at the end of the 1992. At the end of the 1992, the new programming language was provided. After providing this new programming language, they are searching for a name for the new programming language. Meanwhile, James Gosling, he always likes to say a particular type of tree through his cabin window. The name of the tree is what their work. By having this thought in his mind, he suggested the name for the new programming language is what their work. That suggestion was given to the Sun Microsystems. But unfortunately, Sun Microsystems has rejected. Sun Microsystems has rejected that opinion of the James Gosling. Why? Because work is already an existing programming language name. That's why we should not give the same name to our new programming language. In the case, if we give the same name to our new programming language, we lost our identity about our new programming language. Everybody will think about it. New programming language is an extension of the old programming language. Because of that reason, that Sun Microsystems was not recognized that work is the name for that new programming language. Meanwhile, all the Sun engineers, they used to take one brand labeled coffee at their cafeteria, at Sun Microsystems cafeteria. The name of that coffee is what? Their Java coffee. By having this kind of thinking, Sun engineers have suggested to the Sun Microsystems about the name like what? Their Java. Then Sun Microsystems has accepted that and they announced a name for new programming language is what? Their Java. That's it. Sun Microsystems has prepared the very first product on the base of the Java, that is what? Their Star 7. The Star 7 is totally failure product. No customer is identified. Nearly they waited up to 1.5 years of time, but no one is identified to take that particular product. Up to the mid of 1994, they waited to find a customer for Star 7. No customer is identified here. Then they were in a depression totally. In the mid of 1994, there is a boom for www as part of the internet. The key component in www is what? Their browsers. So browsers are getting very good demand. In the mid of 1994, there was a browser name is Mosaic is the name that was provided by Mark Anderson, who is an undergraduate student at Illinois University at Chicago. And as part of his project work, who prepared this particular Mosaic browser, to prepare that he took nearly $6.25 per hour. Understand it clearly. Then Mosaic browser was available here. By the time it has very good demand. By seeing the demand of that Mosaic browser, some people wants to prepare their own browser behalf of the Sun Microsystems on the basis of the Java. Finally, they started work and they completed that browser preparation by the end of 1995. At the end of the 1995, they announced the browser with the name what? Their Hard Java browser. Right, sir? By understanding the demand for Hard Java browser, people are thinking about people are thinking about the new browser. That means people are thinking about Java programming language. People are talking about Java programming language. As per the demand of the Java programming language, Sun Microsystems has announced sorry, Sun Microsystems has provided new programming language to the market in the year 1996 January. The January 23rd or 27th, that doesn't matter again. In the year 1996 January month, they released the very first version of the Java. After that, right from this 1996 onwards, every 2 years or 3 years or 4 years one, a new version is going to be provided. As part of that, 1.0, 1.1, 1.2, and so on and so on and so on and so on. As of now, the versions are what there 1.20 or 21st is also available. JDK 21st, JDK 1.21st is also available, but in the list I given up to 1.20. Don't worry for it. While moving on to the content here, definitely we are going to cover the Java 1.21st version also. We are going to see in our content directly. That's it. Now this is the total scenario that we can understand what exactly the Java history, what is the background story of the Java programming language that we are having clearly. That's clear. Shall we move forward? Next one is after that, after completion of this, the next topic is differences between Java and others. Why I'm taking this particular topic at present? No? For example, it's a minimum thing to understand some problems with the C and the C++ in order to move on to the Java. Definitely, some people may ask a question to you. What you are doing at present? You may reply to them, I'm learning Java programming language. Immediately they are getting a question. Why you are learning directly Java? Why not C and C++? Then immediately you may give some reply. Now at present Java is demanded one. So if I learn Java, I'm able to get more number of opportunities in outside. That's why I joined for Java classes now. Then immediately people may ask one more question to you. Already you had that C and C++ programming languages. Already you are having C and C++ programming languages. Then why you are learning this Java? Why we are coming for Java directly? What advantages you can find with this Java when compared with the C and C++? This question here we are able to get. There at least we have to open our mouth. We have to talk minimum some points about the differences between Java and other programming languages. Yeah, this is minimum question, sir. As per the common sense, I'm telling that everybody will ask this question as per the common sense. That we have to answer there. Point number one. Second point is, in general, when we go for interviews in outside, interviewer may ask you, then please give your resume. You may give that resume to that interviewer. If interviewer open your resume, there what we are going to specify in general, our in general analysis is what the skill set is available. There is an option in the resume. What we are going to provide there in that skill set, no? In general, whether you are aware about the technologies or not, there is a secondary. First of all, the total technologies list you are able to say. C, C++, Java, .NET, Python, whatever the technologies names you know. This is in general what we are going to do. Especially if you are in BTech now, if you are in campus drives there, then the technologies list maybe the total maybe 15 to 20 technologies you are going to say. But please remember it, I'm telling to you clearly, don't provide the technologies unnecessarily inside your resume. What is that resume actually? Resume contains your information. Just you are giving your information to that interviewer by submitting resume. Once you specify some technologies in that resume, its indirect meaning is what? You are perfect in the technologies. Then you can ask any type of question from these technologies. That impression we are giving to that interviewer. Once interviewer finds any technology in your resume, then interviewer is having the rights to ask any question from the technology. By having this kind of thought only, we have to keep the technologies list. But my suggestion is what they really what technologies you know, provide the technologies only. Don't provide unnecessary technologies. If you know Java, then you can specify that. If you don't know Java, don't provide it. If you know C, then only put that C. If you don't know C, don't write it. Why you are giving unnecessarily some other technologies list to that interviewer? If you say some Python, Java, microservices and web services kind of technologies now, indirectly interviewer we are giving information to that interviewer, we can ask questions on these technologies. If interviewer is asking that questions there on that particular technology, if you are unable to answer for them, it's a bad impression. That interviewer will get bad impression about So it's not the good thing. That's why what that one only we can specify inside the resume. Otherwise, don't specify that. But in general, what we are going to provide, C++, Java, we are going to provide. In general, I'm telling there, C++, Java, we are going to provide. Am I right or not? Whenever we are providing C++, Java in our resume, then there is a chance for that interviewer to ask this question. Tell me the differences between C, C++, and Java. Tell me the differences between C, C++, and Java. When interviewer is asking the very first question when interviewer is asking, tell me the difference between C, C++, Java, at least we have to open our mouth, at least we have to give some details about that particular differences. Then interviewer will get some impression on the very first question here. Understand it clearly? So because of that reason, we have to understand the differences between Java and other programming languages. Just I'm giving why I'm taking this particular topic. One more point I'm telling to you, observe carefully. In outside, there is a misunderstanding over the technologies. What is that misunderstanding now? People are going to give some wrong guidelines. If you want to learn Java programming language, first you have to learn a C++ programming language. If you want to learn C++ programming language, first you have to learn a C programming language. People are going to give this kind of chain process. But here itself, I'm telling to you, we don't have any such type of chain process. We don't have any such type of chain process. Core Java is a fundamental programming language. C programming language is also be a fundamental programming language. C++ is also a fundamental programming language. How much weightage is available for C programming language? Same weightage is available for what there? Core Java. Core Java is a startup programming language. C is a startup programming language. C++ is a startup programming language. To learn Core Java, don't make any other prerequisite like what their C programming language. It's a time-waste process, is unnecessary part. But at least we need to say that Java is different, C and C++ are different. No chain is existed between C, C++, Java. At least we have to understand that point. As part of that, I'm taking what there, this particular topic. Yes, sir. All of you getting my point or not? Whatever it may be, for all these things, I'm taking this particular concept. Now try to understand it clearly. Differences between Java and others inside this particular topic, I'm going to take nearly 9 points, 9 number of points I'm going to take. All these 9 points are important and some interview questions are going to be covered. Out of these 9 number of points, first 5 points are damn sure, very, very important. There are a lot of more and more number of internal concepts are going to be covered, but try to put more concentration clearly. Let's move on to the points here. The very first difference, everybody understand it, no? The very first difference is what there? C and C++ are static programming languages. C and C++ are static programming languages, but Java is a dynamic programming language. But Java is what there? A dynamic programming language. This is the very first difference here we have to understand. That's it. Now tell me, what is the very first difference between Java and other programming languages? No, C and C++ are what? Static programming languages, but Java is what? A dynamic programming language. So before going to understand C, C++, Java, whether they are static or dynamic, before that, first of all, tell me, when a programming language is a static programming language, when a programming language is a dynamic programming language, that we have to understand first. First, we have to understand what is static programming language. After that, we will think how C and C++ are static. First, we have to understand what is dynamic programming language. After that, we will understand when a programming language is dynamic programming language. Yes, sir. All of you are getting clarity on this point now? Now let me check it. When a programming language is C and when a programming language is a static programming language. Let's observe carefully. I'm going to give a diagram, try to understand it clearly. Everybody put more concentration. Observe carefully. Right, sir. Now, for example, I have written a C program. This is my what there? C program. Understand it. If it is a C program, automatically the file extension should be like what there? The file extension should be what there? .c. Some file name .c. Understand it clearly. Now inside this file name .c, we are going to write number of instructions, number of lines, number of instructions. Here we are going to write number of instructions. I have written this C program. Clear. Now tell me, for what purpose we have written this C program? If I execute this C program, then I am able to get some output. For the sake of that output only, I have written the C program. Am I right or not? So execution required or not? Execution process is required or not? Let's understand it. Here I am going to take execution process. This is like what I am telling to you, execution. When we execute the C program, automatically some outputs are going to be generated. When we execute the C program, there we are able to get what there? Some outputs. Everybody understand it clearly? Execution that I am going to take. But I have a question now. Who will execute the C program? Who is going to execute the C program? Any idea? To execute a C program, one engine is required. What is required? An engine is required. A mission is required. That engine is called C engine. That engine is what there? C engine. Its name may be anything. General term C engine. It executes C programs. Then what is that flow of execution actually? When we provide C program as an input to the C engine will execute the C program and the C engine will provide some outputs. C engine will provide what there? Some outputs as an output from the program. This is what exactly the process here we are understanding. All of you are following up to now? Nothing is difficult, very simple point only. First of all, I have written C program. I have given the C program to the C engine. C engine must execute the C program and it has to generate some outputs. That's the process here. But here there is a small problem. Try to understand the problem. Who has written the C program now? Tell me. Developer or not? Developer. Developer has written the C program in which representation actually? Developer is able to write the C program in a high level language representation. In what representations are? High level language representation. Can you tell me what is this high level language representation? Or any example here? Int a is equal to 10. This instruction is a high level representation. Int a is equal to 10. Developer understandable language. Developer understandable representation. That is what their high level representation. Int developer can understand it is an integer value. A is a variable. Equal is an operator. 10 is a constant value. Semicolon is a special symbol terminator. The developer can understand. Developer understandable language is called as what there? High level language, high level representation. So got it or not? Developer has written this program in his understandable language. That understandable language is what there? High level language. Int a is equal to 10 semicolon. That is what there? High level language. Clear to all of you know? Next one is C engine is executing our C program. Am I right or not? Whatever the program that we have written in high level language, if we give that program to the C engine has to execute that program, C engine has to generate that output. But how C engine is able to execute our program? What language that C engine is able to understand actually? If you observe this point here, answer is very clear. Understand it now. C engine is able to execute the program which is in low level language representation. C engine is able to execute the program which is in what representation now? Low level language representation. Everybody put more concentration now. What is this low level language representation actually? The low level language representation is available in the form of like what there? Zeros and ones, a binary representation, machine language representation. So to execute our program, C engine required the program in the form of what representation? Low level. But we provided program in what representation? High level. I have given program in high level, but C engine is expecting the program in what level? Low level here, where some mismatch is identified or not. Come on guys, their mismatch is identified or not? Mismatch is provided or not? When mismatch is identified, our program is not going to be executed. Our program is unable to execute. Why? Because mismatch is identified between the programs. Observe carefully. All right, exactly in this particular situation, we need some translation process. We need what there? Some translation process. What translation process is required? When developer has provided program in high level, that high level program must be converted to low level program. If we give that low level program to the C engine, then C engine can execute that low level program and C engine is able to provide some outputs. So here we required some translation mechanism or not? Some conversion mechanism is required or not? Because of that reason, here we are going to use a conversion mechanism, or else here we are going to use a converter. Here we are going to use what there? A converter or a translator. Here we are going to use a translator or what there? A converter. Here we are able to use. All right, sir. Now here I want to say like what the time being. This is like what their translator. Understand it clearly. Time being I want to use this is what there? A translator. Understand my point here. What is the job of the translator? No. If we give high level program as an input to this translator will convert this high level program into a low level program. Translator will convert this high level program into a low level program. That low level program will be provided in the form of .exe file. That low level program will be provided in the form of what there? .exe file. Inside this .exe file, what data is available here? No, directly executable code is available. Directly what code is available here? No, executable code is available. Understand it clearly. Right, sir. Now this is like what I'm telling you, directly executable code. Inside this .exe file, we are getting what there? Low level code, directly executable code. When this translator provided this low level code, and if we provide that low level code as an input to the C engine, then C engine is able to execute that low level code and the C engine is able to provide our output. And if you get my process, can you understand it clearly? What is required now? Translator is required. The translation process is able to convert the program from high level representation to low level representation. The process of converting the program from high level representation to low level representation, for that purpose we are using a translation mechanism now. The translation mechanism is called as what there? Compilation. The translation mechanism is what there? Compilation. The translation process is what there? Compilation. Here we required compilation process. Now tell me, straightly I'm asking this question. Not only in the case of C, not only in the case of Java, not only in the case of C++. In every programming language, what is the job of the compilation? What is the purpose of the compilation? Now tell me no. What is the purpose of the compilation? Now tell me. Come on, here itself answer is available to translate program from high level representation to low level representation. Why we need this conversion? Why we are performing this type of conversion? The problem is the programs are executed by a mission. Programs are executed by a machine, an engine. That engine required program in what language? No, low level language only, mission language only. Because of that reason, we have to convert the program from high level representation to low level representation. Following or not? All right, sir. Because of that reason, we need to perform compilation. Compilation in the sense translating our program from high level representation to low level representation. Clear or not? One more point. All of you understand it now? Who has written the C program, sir? Who has written the C program? Developer. Who is the developer? Human being or not? Come on. Human being, right? What is the fundamental right for human being? What is the fundamental right for human being? Taking food and sleeping now. Come on. Huh? The fundamental right for human being is what they're committing the mistakes. Yeah, mistakes, definitely. That is the fundamental thing, right? Every human being will commit the mistakes. See, even if I call James Gosling here to write Java program, he may have a number of errors. Even though he is the inventor of the Java programming language, when he writes the first program, he may have a number of problems, a number of errors. So mistakes are very common. Having errors or having mistakes is not a crime. Getting errors inside our program is not a crime. But what is crime? Without checking the program, whether the program contains errors or not, without that, trying to execute the program is a crime. I get my point or not? Without error checking, trying to execute the program is a crime, is the biggest crime. But we are going to check whether errors are coming or not, mistakes are available or not. If we have mistakes now, then we will correct that mistakes, then again we will go for execution. But without checking errors are available or not, directly executing program in the sense what there is a crime. Say for example, you prepared a product. Without testing the product, will you buy that product to the customer? If you want to buy that product to the customer, or if you want to sell that product to the customer, first of all, proper testing is required or not? Understand my point here? Proper testing is required or not? Then part of the testing, each and every corner we are going to check. If everything is perfect, then only we are going to sell that product to the customer. Understand my point? Similarly, I have written a program. Before going to execute the program, first of all, I have to check whether my program contains any mistakes or not. Errors are available or not. Right. That error checking responsibility is also be taken care by compilation. Our compilation will take the responsibility of what their error checking. Finally, two responsibilities are available for compilation. What are the two responsibilities? Now tell me. What are the two responsibilities? Can now tell me. First one is what there? Come on, guys. What is that first one? Can know translating program from high level language to low level language. And the second one is what there? Error checking. Understand it clearly. Translating program from high level language to low level language and error checking are the two responsibilities of what there? Compilation. Yes, got it or not? Fine, sir. Finally, compilation is completed. Execution is also be completed. Finally, here we are getting what their outputs. Please, all of you listen carefully. I'm going to introduce some terminology. Understand it now. So, why I'm discussing all these points? At least, are you getting clarity? Why I'm discussing all these points now? Because of this particular point. To understand this particular point, on I'm preparing the ground. Part of preparing the ground on, I'm discussing about all the basics. Right, understand it. I'll make a link. Now try to understand it now. Fine. Observe carefully. For example, if I provide int a is equal to 10, I provide it. Everybody put more concentration. Int a is equal to 10. What is going to be happen internally when we provide int a is equal to 10? When we execute this, when we compile this, or when we execute this program, or when we do some process over this point here, internally what happened there? A variable will be taken. What variable is taken here? No, a variable. For that a variable, a block of memory will be created. How much memory there? Maybe 2 bytes of memory in some programming languages, 4 bytes of memory in some other programming languages, whatever it may be. Depending on programming languages, some block of memory will be created. Inside this block of memory, what value will be stored? 10 value will be stored. 10 is the data is going to be stored inside the particular content. Okay, a variable, 10 is the data. Right. This is a variable. For that variable, memory allocation is provided or not? Come on guys, for a variable, memory allocation is going on or not? Get my point now? All right, sir. This is also be happened actually in programming languages. Now coming to the point, all of you understand it clearly. If the memory allocation is provided for the primitive data, come on, what's the point here? If the memory allocation is provided for the primitive data, what is that primitive data? Byte, short, int, long, float, double, boolean, character. All these are what their primitive data. If the memory allocation is provided for the primitive data at a compilation time, at what time? Compilation time. Then that memory allocation is called static memory allocation. That memory allocation is called as what there? Static memory allocation. Come on, sir. What is static memory allocation? Now tell me. If the memory allocation is provided at compilation time for the primitive data, then that memory allocation is called as what there? Static memory allocation. Yes, sir, got it or not? Listen carefully. If any programming language follows static memory allocation, then that programming language is called static programming language. If any programming language follows static memory allocation, then that programming language is what there? Static programming language. Get my point? Now tell me, if any programming language follows static memory allocation, then that programming language is what there? Static programming language. Static programming language. Nice. This is a point here. Now similarly, now tell me about this execution actually. All right, sir. Understand my point here? If the memory allocation is provided, at runtime of the application, not at compilation time, at runtime of the application, then that memory allocation is called dynamic memory allocation. That memory allocation is called as what there? Dynamic memory allocation. Everybody understand it clearly? If the memory allocation is going on for the data, for the primitive data at a runtime, then that memory allocation is what there? Dynamic memory allocation. If any programming language follows dynamic memory allocation, dynamic memory allocation, then that programming language is called as what there? Dynamic programming language. Clear? Now my concepts are very much clear. What is static programming language and what is dynamic programming language? Tell me, sir, what is static programming language? If any programming language follows static memory allocation, then that programming language is what? Static programming language. If any programming language follows dynamic memory allocation, then that programming language is what? Dynamic programming language. Can you tell me what is static memory allocation? Come on, what is static memory allocation? If the memory allocation is provided for the primitive data at what time? Compilation time. Then that memory allocation is what? Static memory allocation. If the memory allocation is provided at runtime of the application, then that memory allocation is what there? Dynamic memory allocation. Yes, sir, got it or not? All right, sir. Now, almost all we are coming to the conclusion. All of you understand my conclusion here. Observe carefully. Here itself, I am giving clarity. Now, try to understand it here. C and C++ are static programming languages, but Java is what their dynamic programming language. You only give clarity for me. You only give the reasons for it. No, C and C++ are okay. Then before that, I'm giving clarity to you. If any programming language follows static memory allocation, then that programming language is called a static programming language. Is called as a static programming language, where the static memory allocation, okay, static memory allocation provides the memory for the data, for the primitive data at a compilation time. Right, so static memory allocation provides the memory allocation for the data at what time, you know, at a compilation time, at the compilation time. No, understand it clearly. Right, sir. Now examples for this particular static programming language are what there, C and C++. There I'm giving one more point extra. In C and C++ applications, memory will be allocated for the data at a compilation time only, not at a runtime. That's enough. In a C and C++ applications, memory will be allocated for the data at what time, you know, compilation time only, not at what time, you know, runtime. Clear? It's very clear. Understand it now. All right, sir. That's okay. Fine. Next one is after completion of this static programming language information, what about the next one, you know, dynamic programming language? Then what is the meaning of this dynamic programming language, sir? The same as it is. I'm going to provide these points here now. As it is, small changes. No, now tell me what changes here we have to provide there. If any programming language follows what? Dynamic memory allocation. Dynamic memory allocation, then the programming language, is called what there? Dynamic programming language. Where the dynamic memory allocation provides the memory for the primitive data at what time, sir? At the runtime of the application. At the runtime of the application. That's it. Examples for dynamic programming language is what there? Then so many examples are available: Java, Python, and so on, .NET, and so many examples are available. Now tell me, in Java applications, memory will be allocated for the data. Sorry, memory will be allocated for the data at what time, you know? At a runtime only. At a runtime only, not at a compilation time. Not at what their compilation time. That's it. So this is the description about like what the very first point. C and C++ are static programming languages, but Java is what they're a dynamic programming language. Or if you're getting clarity on this point now, see, one time if you understand it, that we have to fix in your mind. You should not forget it. Maybe after 1 week of time, if I ask the same question, tell me what is static programming language, what is dynamic programming language, you have to give answers for my question. Effectively, we have to provide answer for my question. Yes, sir. All of you ready for it now? All of you understood this point clearly? Can I ask a question now? Now tell me. How can you say C and C++ are static programming languages, but Java is a dynamic programming language? First of all, tell me what is static programming language? Come on. If any programming language follows static memory allocation, then that programming language is what? Static programming language. Tell me what is static memory allocation? If the memory allocation is going on at what time? Compilation time. Memory allocation is performed at the compilation time. Then that memory allocation is what there? Static programming language. Examples for static programming languages: C and C++. Okay, fine. What is dynamic programming language? If any programming language follows dynamic memory allocation, then that programming language is what there? Dynamic programming language. Tell me what is dynamic memory allocation? If the memory allocation is provided at what time? Runtime, not at compilation time. Then it is what there? Dynamic memory allocation. Tell me examples for dynamic programming languages: Java, Python, .NET. Almost all at present programming languages are dynamic programming languages only. Yes, sir. Got it or not? Leave this content here. So these are the points here. What I explained to you clearly. Leave this content here. So diagram is also be provided. Now try to check for the diagram so that we are able to have some content. It's okay, fine. Yeah, no issues. Right, sir. Difference number 1 is completed. Everybody put more concentration. I'm going to talk about the difference number 2. This is also be important here. Now try to understand it clearly. Second difference, everybody put more concentration. Preprocessor is required. Preprocessor is required in C and C++, but preprocessor is not required in Java. Preprocessor is required in C and C++, but preprocessor is not required in Java. So here we have to understand the point clearly. Before going to understand preprocessor is required or not required in C, C++, Java, before all these points, first of all tell me what is preprocessor, what is its requirement in programming languages, where it is available in programming languages, that we have to understand. Yes, sir? All of you get me point or not? What is preprocessor, where it is available, and what is its role, what is its responsibility in programming languages, that we have to understand. Let me prepare one simple diagram about this. I think already I given previous diagram. Now observe carefully one simple diagram. That's it. I want to remove this. Now observe carefully. For example, I want to prepare a C program. I want to prepare what there? A C program where .c. File extension is what there? .c. Clear? Next one is, when we write a C program in high level, we need to convert that high level program to the low level program or not? To convert a program from high level to low level, what process here we have to perform? Come on, what we have to do? What we have to do? Compilation. There we have to perform what there? Compilation. Nice. Now here we have to perform what there? Compilation. That's it. It's okay, fine. Next one is, now tell me, when we compile C program, what files here we are able to get, sir? Now tell me, what file here we are able to get when we perform compilation? Then definitely here we are able to get one type of file. What is that file actually? .exe file. .exe file. Okay. .obj or .exe, whatever it may be, some file, some other file here. Next one is, when we got the .exe file, then what next one here we have to do? We have to perform what? Come on, after compilation, after getting .exe file, what we need to perform? Execution here we have to perform or not? There we have to perform what there? Execution. Execution process here we have to perform. When we perform this execution, then what we are able to get there at the end of the story, here we are able to get some outputs or not? Definitely here we are able to get what there? Some outputs. That's it. Now understand it clearly. There we are able to get what there? Some outputs. That's it. Overall, this is clearly C program, compilation, .exe file, execution, and what next one here now? Output. Clear. I want to elaborate the compilation process. What is going on inside the compilation? Just I want to elaborate it. If we observe the compilation process now, that compilation process internally 4 phases are available. In the compilation internally 4 phases are available. What are the 4 phases of this compilation internally? We can understand it. First one is preprocessor, and the next one is compiler, and the next one is assembler, and the next one is loader link editor. Inside the compilation, how many phases are available here? Overall 4 phases are available. What are the 4 phases here now? First one is like what there, preprocessor, and the next one is like what there, after this preprocessor, compiler. Next one is what there, assembler. After this assembler, what next one you know, loader, link editor. Clear? All of you are getting clarity on this? Fine, sir. Now again, I want to elaborate this compiler internal structure. Compiler is a component inside the compilation. Its internal structure here I want to provide. Right. Now try to understand it. What is going to be happen inside the compiler? Inside the compiler, what internal structure is available? Let me check this. Right. Now, inside this, first one is what there? Lexical analysis phase. Lexical analysis. Next one is syntax analysis. Next one is semantic analysis. After this, intermediate code generation. Intermediate code generation. Next one is code optimization. Finally, code generation. Overall, how many phases are available? Can now tell me? Lexical analysis phase, syntax analysis phase, semantic analysis phase, intermediate code generation. Then after that, code optimization. Then what next one here? Code generation. Overall, these many phases are available. Clear? This is overall structure of the compiler internal structure here we are providing. Right, sir? It's okay, fine. This is completed. Now, from this, what we are getting clarity, preprocessor location. Here we understood. Where is preprocessor? If I ask you this question, then your answer should be as a first phase in the compilation. Preprocessor location is what there? The very first phase in what there? Compilation. This is our required point that we have to understand. The very first phase in the compilation. That's it. So we understood clearly the preprocessor location is what there? First phase in the compilation. Now let me take this diagram here. Later on anyway, I will give some description also. Good. Preprocessor exists in the compilation as the first phase. Preprocessor exists in the compilation as the first phase. That's okay, fine. Location we understood. But what is its responsibility? What is its responsibility? What exactly the responsibilities are available for the preprocessor? Let us understand it clearly. Now tell me, first of all, tell me, in a C and a C++, in both the programming languages, the complete predefined library was provided in the form of header files or not? Tell me, sir. As you know, basics of C and C++, the total predefined library, the complete predefined library was provided in the form of what there? Header files. See, one point I am telling you. In every programming language, predefined library is available. It's a minimum. In every programming language, some predefined library is available. That predefined library was provided by the programming languages in different forms. In a C programming language, in the form of header files. In the case of Java programming language, in the form of packages. In some other programming languages, and some other representation is available, some template packages. Understand my point? So in C and C++, the complete predefined library is available in the form of header files. What are the various header files actually? Hash include, what are the various header files here? Right, sir. Hash include stdio.h, stdio.h, am I right or not? Next one is what there? conio.h. Next one is what there? math.h. math.h. These are like what there, all the header files, what we are having clearly. Fine, that's okay, fine. Predefined library is available in the form of what there, header files. I want to use this predefined library in my C program. I want to use this predefined library in what program there? C program. To use this predefined library in a C program, we have to include these header files inside my C program. Am I right or not? If we want to use predefined library in our C program, we have to include these header files inside this C program. Am I right or not? Now observe carefully. If we want to include header files in a C and C++ applications, if you want to include header files in C and C++ applications, then we have to include header files in a C and C++ programs. In a C and C++ programs. Answer my point here. If you want to include, or if you want to, sorry, if you want to use, if you want to use predefined library in C and C++ applications, in C and C++ applications, then we have to include header files in C and C++ programs. To include header files in a C and C++ programs, we have to use hash include statements. Am I right? If you want to use predefined library in C and C++ applications, then we have to include header files in C and C++ programs. To include header files in C and C++ programs, we have to use hash include statement. Is that all of you getting clarity now? All right. Now observe carefully. Example here I'm telling to you. Inside this example, hash include stdio.h, hash include conio.h. The purpose of all these things are not required. What is the purpose of stdio? What is the purpose of not required? Just understand some predefined libraries available in these header files that we want to get inside the C program. So we have to include them. For including them, we are using what statement there? Hash include statements. Hash include math.h. Hash include what there? Math.h. That's it. Is it? All of you are getting my point or not? Hash include stdio.h, hash include conio.h, hash include math.h. Clear? Now internal process I'm telling to you, everybody put more concentration. Everybody put more concentration. For example, listen carefully. For example, I have written a C program here. I have written a C program. In my C program, I have written these hash include statements. In my C program, I have written what there? Hash include statements. When I compile my C program, when I compile C program, who is the first phase? What is the first phase in the compilation? Preprocessor. Inside the compilation, what is the first phase? No, preprocessor. What preprocessor will do now when I compile this C program, which include these header files now? Immediately, the very first responsibility of the preprocessor is what? Preprocessor will recognize all these hash include statements. Preprocessor will recognize all these hash include statements. Preprocessor will take all the provided header files names. What are the header files names that we provided here? stdio.h, conio.h, math.h. Preprocessor will take all these header files names. After that, preprocessor will go inside the C software that we installed in our computer already. Preprocessor will go inside what there? C software. Inside the C software, predefined library area is available. Libraries are available. Inside that predefined library, preprocessor will check whether these header files are available or not. Preprocessor will check whether these header files are available or not. If these header files are not available in the C++ predefined library, inside the C and C++ software, if these header files are not available, immediately preprocessor will raise an error. Does not exist these libraries. But you said to me these libraries are available. I am checking now, but I didn't identify them. So these libraries are not available. It's a hands-out situation. Preprocessor will give that message to the user. For example, if these header files are available, inside the C software, inside the C predefined library, then immediately what preprocessor will do? No, preprocessor will take these header files. Preprocessor will open these header files where executable code is available, library code is available. Preprocessor will load that header files code to the memory. Preprocessor will load all these header files content to the memory. Loading predefined library to the memory, at a compilation time. This everything is going in at compilation time. Loading predefined library to the memory at a compilation time is called static loading. This type of loading is called as what there? Static loading. Previously we understood static memory allocation. That is different. Now library is loading to the memory. Then there is what there? Then it is called as what there? Static loading. Yes, sir, got my point or not? So preprocessor will load all the header files content to the memory. Come again. What is the internal process? I said to you clearly. I have written a C program. When I inside my C program, I have written all these hash include statements. When I compile my C program, what preprocessor will do now? Preprocessor will recognize all the hash include statements. Preprocessor will take all the header files names. Preprocessor will check whether these header files are available or not inside the C software. If they are not available, raise an error. If they are available, load their library to the memory. Loading this predefined library to the memory at compilation time is called as what type of loading? Static loading. This is called as what there? Static loading. In C and C++, preprocessor will perform static loading. In C and C++, preprocessor will perform what type of loading there? Static loading. That's finished. This is internally the content kernel. Got my point or not? Now coming to the conclusion, what is that conclusion here I'm telling there? In C and C++, observe carefully. In C and C++, hash include statements are mandatory, or else maybe in C and C++, preprocessor is mandatory. Preprocessor is required. Why? Because in C and C++, hash include statements and header files are required. Answer my point here now. In C and C++, preprocessor is mandatory. Preprocessor is required to load all the header files content to the memory. Because of that reason, preprocessor is mandatory in the case of what there? C and C++. Yes, sir. All of you get my point or not? All right, sir. Right, sir. Now this is the point here I'm telling to you. Now just give 2 minutes of time. I'll finish the total internal process here. Try to understand it clearly. All right, so now if we compile C and C++ programs, then the preprocessor will perform the following actions. What actions that preprocessor is able to perform there? Observe carefully. Point number 1. Preprocessor will recognize all the hash include statements. Next one is what there? Preprocessor will take all the provided header files names. Next one is preprocessor will check whether the provided header files exist or not in the C and C++ softwares, depending on the programming language what we have used there. All right, sir. Observe carefully. All right, sir. Then after that, what next one here? After this, if the provided header files do not exist in the C and C++ softwares, what is going to happen there? If the provided header files do not exist in the C and C++ softwares, then the preprocessor will raise an error. What exactly that error we are able to get? That depends on what their programming language is. No need to worry about it. Next one is after that, if the provided header files exist in a C and C++ software, then the preprocessor will load the header files content to the memory. Understand my point here? If the provided data files exist in C and C++ softwares, then the preprocessor will load the header files content to the memory. This type of loading predefined library, at a compilation time is called static loading. Indirectly, what I'm telling there, preprocessor is performing static loading of the predefined library. Right, sir. Now this is like what we are getting clearly. This is a content here. Now I want to give conclusion. What is our conclusion here? I'm telling to you, all of you observe carefully. In C and C++, in a C and C++, preprocessor is required. Preprocessor is required to recognize hash include statements in order to load the provided header files content to the memory. Provided header files content to the memory. What is required here now? Preprocessor is required in order to load the provided header files content to the memory. That's it. Because of this reason, what is required here now? Preprocessor is required. As all of you are getting my point clearly? Total internal content, that everything here we provided here now. Just for my confirmation, for the sake of my satisfaction, for example, now tell me why preprocessor is required in C and C++. Now tell me. First of all, tell me where is that preprocessor? Preprocessor is the first phase in what? Compilation. That's nice. What is its job actually? Its job is what? In a simple statement, if you want to provide this we can use. What is a preprocessor job actually? It recognizes all hash include statements and it loads all the header files content to the memory in a single statement, if you want to give conclusion. But if you want to give more elaborated manner, what I given there in a C and a C++, the complete predefined library is provided in the form of what? Header files. What are the header files? No, yesterday.h, conio.h, math.h. If you want to include these header files, if you want to use predefined library in a C and a C++ softwares, we have to include the header files into the C and C++ programs. To include these header files in C and C++ programs, we have to use a statement. What statement here we have to use? Hash include statement. What are the examples for it? No, hash include stdio.h, hash include conio.h, hash include math.h. That's okay, fine. If I compile C and C++ programs that includes hash include statements, then preprocessor will perform some actions. What activities that preprocessor is able to perform? What is the first one here? Preprocessor will recognize all the hash include statements. Preprocessor will take all the provided header files names. Preprocessor will check whether the provided header files exist or not in C and C++ softwares. If the provided header files do not exist in C and C++ softwares, then the preprocessor will raise an error. Then the preprocessor will raise what there? An error. If the provided header files exist in C and C++ softwares, then the preprocessor will load the header files content to the memory. This type of loading predefined library at compilation time is called as what there? Static loading. In a C and C++, preprocessor is required to recognize hash include statements in order to load the provided header files content to the memory. This is exactly the meaning of like what there? Preprocessor and its activity in the case of C and C++. Yes, sir. All of you get my point or not? Okay, fine. But now, for example, if I want to provide this is a diagram with respect to what there? With respect to C and C++ preprocessor. That point here we understood. It's okay, fine. Leave this content here. After this, I'm talking with you related to Java. In Java, preprocessor is not available. First of all, let me confirm the diagram here. No? I want to convert this entire diagram into Java, where preprocessor is not available. What changes are required here? Now tell me. First of all, that Java in the sense that file extension should not be .c. Now tell me, what is that file extension actually? .java. The file extension should be what there? .java. Compilation is okay. After compilation of the Java program, we are not going to get .exe files. In place of the .exe file, what files here we are able to get? No, .class files we are able to get. Understand this here? Dot class files here we are able to get. When we execute these dot class files, outputs here we are able to get. Whenever we are getting output, then what we are going to do there in the in the Java compilation process, what is not available? What is not available? Preprocessor is not available. All the remaining phases are available as it is. Preprocessor is not existed, but remaining content is very same. Remaining part of the diagram is very same. That's it. Now let me check this clearly. Let me copy this. Related to Java, the diagram here I am going to provide. This is the C and C++ diagram, but this is what their Java diagram. That's it. Now I need to give information about like what the Java. In Java, why preprocessor is not existed. In Java, why preprocessor is not required. Why it is not existed. That points here we are able to say. In a simple statement, if you want to conclude, in a very simple way, if you want to conclude this point, in Java, hash include statements, header files are not available. Once these two are not available, then what is the need of preprocessor? In a single statement, if you want to conclude this point here, but I will give that elaborated information. There's some internal flow is available, but in a simple point, if you want to conclude, no, in a Java, what are not available? Hash include state. Okay, first of all, in Java, header files are not available. When header files are not available, then there is no meaning of hash include statements. So hash include statements are also be not available. When header files and hash include statements are not available, then there is no meaning for what? Then there is no meaning for what? Preprocessor. The preprocessor is not required. That's the reason why Java doesn't support what their preprocessor. Preprocessor is not available in Java. But it requires some elaborated explanation and a simple conclusion I'm giving there because of the time constraint now. But tomorrow I will give the total, like what there, the total information here. Then Java, why preprocessor is not required, not supported. The total content I will discuss with you clearly on tomorrow. Don't miss the tomorrow's class. No, in the first half an hour, maybe first 15 to 20 minutes of time, I will finish the Java and its related information. After completion of that, and tomorrow I'm going to discuss about C++ are platform dependent, whereas Java is a platform independent programming language. It's the most debatable content and very important topic in outside. Then in general, we used to say Java is a platform independent, C++ are platform dependent. But how? That internal concepts we are going to understand. Don't miss the tomorrow and day of tomorrow classes. No, they're very important. Okay, right, sir. That's all for today. Then tomorrow will continue the remaining part. Thank you. Thanks a lot.